I am honored and excited to introduce this year's winner of the Burton Award for Outstanding Contributions to Legal Writing Education, Richard Neumann, Professor of Law at Hofstra University. I learned to teach legal writing from Richard Neumann at least 10 years before I met him. Like most legal writing professors teaching today, I first encountered Richard through his seminal legal writing textbook, Legal Reasoning and Legal Writing. That book, first published in 1990, changed the discipline. Mary Lawrence, one of the pioneers in legal writing education, wrote in her nomination of Richard that the book's philosophical and theoretical underpinnings moved legal writing beyond the mundane teaching of nuts and bolts and formulaic instruction. It is still the most sophisticated and nuanced explanation out there of how to communicate basic inductive and analogical reasoning in an effective rhetorical framework. Richard has since co-authored 2 other influential texts, including one that came out just last year and is already one of the most adopted texts in the country because of its cutting-edge pedagogical approach. He's written articles and given countless presentations to legal writing, clinical, and bar groups. So Richard has been a leader in advancing the scholarly discipline of legal writing, but he has also been a leader in advancing the status of legal writing professionals within legal academia. He became an active member and leader of each of the 3 professional organizations of legal writing faculty and was a founder of one of them. He mentored and encouraged a generation of legal writing faculty and directors. But Richard understood early on that legal writing faculty could not advance on their own, but needed the backing of those who truly understood the value of good legal writing, the practicing bar. Using the example of clinical faculty, he took the legal writing case to the ABA, explaining to its members how the law school accreditation process could be used to improve legal writing programs. Along with Ralph Brill, a previous winner of this award, and another of Richard's nominators, his many nominators, he co-authored the ABA Sourcebook on Legal Writing Programs, a guide that has encouraged many law schools to upgrade their legal writing programs with professional faculty, reasonable class sizes, and sophisticated pedagogy. He served on committees of the ABA section on legal education and admission to the bar, and has served on site inspection teams reviewing law schools for reaccreditation. These roles allowed him to have a direct impact on the professional status and job security of legal writing professionals. The progress of the profession and the discipline of legal writing owe a great debt to Richard Neumann. So it is fitting that the Burton Awards recognize him tonight. Richard, congratulations.
Thank you, Anne, and thank you, Bill Burton, and everyone involved with the foundation, which has done so much to advance legal writing, and so many of you in this room who have fought this good fight. I first experienced legal writing as a bait and switch. The first judicial opinion I read was by Judge Woolsey, whom no one now remembers, who was in the Southern District in the late 20s and early 30s. The opinion, I think, still is published as a preface to Joyce's book Ulysses. The case was United States versus one book named Ulysses. And one of the reasons Random House has always published, I think this need is not true anymore, but they published it for a long time as the preface to dissuade local Comstocks from trying to get the book seized and banned, since Judge Woolsey declared it legal to import it into the United States. Now, the bait and switch was this. It was a beautiful opinion, and as a high school student, I understood every word of it. There were a few Latin procedural phrases, but since I was studying Latin at the time, even they made sense. And reading the novel, the opinion was a lot easier than the novel to understand. And every once in a while, I'd go back to read the opinion to reassure myself that I was capable of understanding something in writing. Now, I got the impression from this opinion that judges wrote wonderfully, Lawyers were very clear in their writing, and they generally read great literature and commented lucidly on it. Then I went to law school and opened up a case book. And I remember after a couple of weeks of being very depressed about what I was reading, asking one of my teachers, who wrote this stuff and why? And he asked, have you read Dickens? And I said, yes. And he asked, have you read Bleak House? And I said, no, not that one. And he said, your education is incomplete. Read it now. And I did, and I began to understand. And then when I got involved in teaching legal writing, which was 34 years ago, you would bring up the question of writing among lawyers and judges, and they would say, oh, that. It was a thing that was just a disgrace, and nobody knew what to do about it. And I'll skip over what's been happening in the meantime, although I have very little to do with it for the most part. It's what you all have done in practice. It's bad, but it's not nearly what it was before. Opening up advance sheets now, sometimes I just turn to my favorite authors who are writing judicial opinions that are a pleasure to read and qualify as literature. That could not have been said about the advance sheets of the early 1970s. Henry Miller used to say when he wanted to be left alone that he was big with book, and somebody should come back in 9 months to see what had been born. I do meet lawyers who are big with brief. The brief is living within them, growing. They have no way of stopping it, and it has a life of its own, and then it will go out in the world and live its own life. But they are living the writing life. They can't stop writing. That was something unheard of when I graduated from law school in the 70s. There's been a change, and part of the change has been accomplished by people like Bill who have taken this very seriously and not only promoted it as a skill, but simply loved it as a thing to do. They've been living the writing life. So I thank everyone involved for this award, and I think I'm actually the least of these honorees tonight because so many other people have done so much to make what lawyers do so much more lucid than it used to be.